Hello, welcome, everyone. Good to see
Actu-
everybody.
Yeah, actually, I'm in the process of doing my hair. So if I'm not on screen, don't take offense to it. Okay.
Noted.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
No problem. But I'll be listening.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, welcome, everyone, and good afternoon. I'm Angelique Terlon, the lead instructor from Custom Collaborative, and today we'll be featuring a workshop from our very own executive director, Ngozi Okaro, and on sustainable business. And for those of you joining us for the first time, I just want to introduce Custom Collaborative and tell you a little bit about us. Custom Collaborative is a nonprofit entrepreneurship and workforce development organization which trains and empowers women, particularly women from low income and immigrant communities, to start their own fashion businesses, whether that be in design development or production. And then, so Custom Collaborative has partnered with the Garment District Alliance to highlight, support, and revitalize this very important part and heart of New York City. The businesses here in the Garment District provide crucial resources to our fashion industry. Through these ongoing workshops, we'll take you behind the scenes and into the Garment District stores, studios, and factories. Our goal is to promote shared learning and collaboration among our industry. And today, like I said, we'll be speaking with our very own Ngozi Okaro, Executive Director of Custom Collaborative, about sustainable business, a fashion industry that exists within planetary boundaries. Ngozi, take it away.
Thank you, Angelique, so much for the kind introduction. I'm so excited to see people here and to engage in our conversation. I will be talking today. I'll do this presentation, and we'll have time for questions and ideas at the end, but also you can feel free to drop questions and thoughts in the chat window, and we will answer them as we go along. So let's go. Let's start the presentation. And so first of all, again, thank you, Angelique. My name is Ngozi Okaro. I'm executive director of Custom Collaborative, which I founded, and I'm really delighted to talk to this group today. And I'm grateful for the Garment District Alliance support of this sponsoring this workshop. So today I'm going to talk to you about a few things you'll see on our next slide. And I just want to give you a roadmap of what we'll be talking about. And basically it will be the historic, cultural, and economic stage for overproduction and fast fashion, where we are today, and sustainable options that lie ahead. I believe that remaking fashion and related businesses is fundamental to long-term human life on the planet. Then next. So I just want to share a little bit about me so you know who I am as I talk to you about this. I am a fashion lover. I am an environmentalist. I'm also a lawyer. And I believe that a lawyer's role is to help society. Custom Collaborative is a manifestation of my belief in the role of lawyers, although my personal fashion needs prompted me to create Custom Collaborative because I have a hard time finding clothes off the rack. Does anybody else have problems finding clothes in stores? Raise a thumb or a nod. Okay. Okay, okay, great, great, great. So fortunately for me, I met a dressmaker, Mariama, who made custom dresses for me, but charging me less than $100 each. Whenever I wore these dresses, other people would say, "Oh, I want to have something like this. How could I get something like this?" And they were willing to pay 5 or 6 times what I paid. And so I thought that if Mariama and other women like her could learn more business skills, standardize construction techniques, and connect with good customers, that people could make much more money for their families, for themselves, and have greater economic impact on their communities. So I just started thinking about how also we could make people feel good in their clothes. Today, Custom Collaborative teaches participants to design, sew, and sell made to measure clothes. And our model has evolved to include partnerships with businesses that want to hire qualified workers through Custom Collaborative's incubator, as well as help women manage their own business. Our model really embraces sustainability. Um, which means a few things. One is that we make what people want to buy, we use surplus fabric for our creations, and we advocate for labor rights and more. I think that sustainability includes fairness and inclusion for all people, no matter their past or current circumstances. And so Custom Collaborative also began offering equity and inclusion workshops last year. So a little bit more, we organize people who have been socially marginalized, specifically no and low income women, and we center their solutions in the biggest issue of our time, which is environmental collapse. The women with whom we work learn, practice, and spread environmental stewardship and go on to collectively control and own ethical businesses, in particular, cooperative business that is a model for others. And so I think that if we're going to make the fashion industry sustainable, that any solution must include treating workers fairly. Otherwise, low cost and expendable labor will perpetuate the phenomenon of fast fashion. And so then I'm just going to share a slide that shows the three parts of our work. Um, Again, I initially developed Custom Collaborative to bridge a gap between women who wanted clothes that fit their bodies and their style, and women who could or could learn to make made to measure clothes. I deliberately chose women like Charity and Mariama and Coolwant to work with because society at large overlooks and undervalues them. And when Mariama and Coolwant and Charity are overlooked, we all miss out on what they have to offer the world. So we operate three programs: a comprehensive training program that teaches business, ethical fashion, personal finance, and leadership, preparing students for entrepreneurship. Our business incubator provides advanced learning, professional equipment, business leads, and work opportunities for training institute graduates. The work comes from businesses who hire us for design and manufacturing. The incubator also produces Custom Collaborative's private line, which you can see and purchase on our website and soon again in pop-up shops. Pop-up opportunities let our participants practice their retail skills, meet potential clients, and share their stories and knowledge if they choose. And I think that we're going to have a link to our online shop in the chat window. And then the third part of our work is Fashion Network's cooperative development program that creates, grows, and supports worker-owned businesses. So on our next slide, you'll see Fashion Network's production cooperative. The cooperative that we're supporting now, FTWP for short, focuses on fashion manufacturing and provides enhanced financial opportunities through shared ownership. There are 4 members right now and 1 employee. Operating a business with others means that the risk is shared, more skills are used, and it's possible to accept bigger contracts. There's more startup investment available and shared accountability. And also people who lack work authorization can work legally if they're owners of a cooperative business. We're going to be in conversation with the Deputy Mayor's Office, New York worker cooperatives, and some others in a week or so. So follow our social media to find out more about cooperative ownership. FTWP also serves the needs of small businesses that need fast local manufacturing. The cooperative model itself is rooted in equity and equality. And again, New York City government is increasing its commitment to both cooperative enterprise and to the fashion industry. So this is a great time for FTWP and businesses that are considering selling specifically to worker owners. So the next thing I want to talk about is equity and inclusion. Custom Collaborative envisions a global apparel industry in which garment makers are fairly compensated for their labor and consumers have access to well-made, sustainably sourced clothes. We believe that by learning from and working with women while investing in their skills, education, and networks, we can seed the environment for change and demonstrate a replicable model for others. Through all of our work, we center the women we work with by asking them what they want and need and adjusting in response to their feedback. I'm really excited to see some of them here today. For example, we pay Training Institute students a stipend every other week. We heard from the first class that some students didn't have bank accounts or stable addresses, so getting a check in the mail was impractical. Also, some of them had problems getting to class because they needed transportation money during their first 2 weeks of training. A couple of them even told us that the stipend was too high, so some people might join for the wrong reasons. In response, we switched to electronic payment, reduced the stipend amount, and included Metro cards. So I want to, again, go back to sustainability. And so I'm wondering if everybody can write in the chat window what sustainability means to you. I personally think about it in two ways, one of which is environmental, which is the importance of making sure we have a planet that's safe for animals, humans, and plant life. And the second, which is equally important, is labor and how we are treating people who produce for us. So I want to go into a little background about the fashion industry. So we'll go through this before we come back around to sustainability on our later slide. So the big fashion problem, at least in this country, began with American cotton before the Civil War. Cotton was one of the many crops grown by enslaved Africans in the US and their descendants. The enslaved in the South picked cotton from sunup or earlier to sundown at least 6 days a week. They suffered family separation, sexual assault, and torture. They had no rights and earned no money for their labor. From around 1800 to 1860, cotton cultivated in forced labor camps was the most valuable export from the United States and generated more than 50% of the country's export income. The forcibly taken land where the cotton grew in early America seemed limitless. Free land, unlimited unpaid labor, and an in-demand commodity set the stage for overproduction and unsustainable consumption. There was a fire in New York in 1911 called the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire that killed more than 140 employees, most of whom were immigrant and what was then called ethnic women, which could have been Jewish and others. These women worked 12 hours per more a day or more per day, 7 days per week. Triangle and other factory workers began a strike in 1909 with factory workers pushing for complete factory unionization but their demands were not met. The employees at Triangle didn't have a union agreement, but they went back to work anyway. They didn't have any leverage, so their demands for higher pay, unlocked building doors, and working fire escapes were not filled. The factory owners kept the doors at the factory locked because they felt that people were taking too many bathroom breaks. So when the building caught fire in 2011, people died because they were trapped in the locked building and fire ladders couldn't reach the windows. Onto the 2013 factory disaster that so many people know of, that's called Rana Plaza, which happened in Bangladesh. It killed more than 1,100 garment workers because the building that they were in collapsed. Workers had complained to the building owners that the building was unstable and had cracks in the wall that you could see, but the workers were ignored and forced back to work. The building was 8 stories tall, but it was only supposed to be 4 stories tall. But the regulations were ignored because the businesses made money for a lot of influential people. And then most recently, in the Xinjiang region of northwestern China, there's been growing outrage because atrocities have been committed against the Uyghur population in the region, which included torture, forced separation, and forced labor, which involved about 1.8 million people who are mostly of Turkic and Muslim background. And then just for reference, China is the largest producer of cotton, and 84% of its cotton comes from that region. 1 in 5, so meaning 20% of cotton garments sold throughout the world contain cotton coming from the Uyghur region. Some brands have committed to ending business relationships with the factories there, and we're hoping that that happens because this is very hard and not aligned with the values of sustainability and fair trade. So in the next slide, we'll talk about where the fashion industry is today. And so I think that there is a through line, a continuous line of fundamental human rights violations for profit in fashion. The line travels through time and across countries, but the line consistently connects free or cheap labor of indigenous, enslaved, women, the poor, and immigrant people that connects them to ways to extract maximum profit from other people's labor and land. Millions of people in the world produce fashion, from growing fibers or synthesizing chemicals that make fabric and dye it to sewing the final product. According to the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, between 2000 and 2014, clothing production doubled, with the average consumer buying 60% more clothing compared to 15 years ago. But each piece is now kept half as long. So if I used to buy clothing that would last me for a year, now I'm buying twice as many pieces of clothes, but I'm throwing them both away every 6 months. That is not what I'm doing. I just said that, for example, just to make it clear for everybody. Fashion, unfortunately, pollutes water, releases toxins into the air and land, and produces pre and post consumer waste that becomes landfill. The phrase sustainable fashion has no agreed upon definition or standards, and so Custom Collaborative is concerned equally with fair wages and safe workplaces and the environment, because so many of the people who make our clothes also live in or come from environmentally endangered spaces. So I just want to pause for a minute and ask if there were any ideas about what sustainability means to people. So that's just a reminder, and then we're going to talk about it in a second more. So as we look at the next slide, we think about what can the future hold? What's a future that creates fair and safe working conditions alongside a planet that we and all of our children and grandchildren will be able to live on. So one of the things that we see as the future for the fashion industry is equity, which is why we started Fashion That Works Production, our first cooperative, and are committed to creating and converting more cooperatives. We reject the model of paying most people a few dollars per day so one or two people can make several $1 million per year. Custom collaborative participants collectively are building a business and sharing in prosperity. We cannot by ourselves create a new economic paradigm, but we can work to carve out parts of the economy that are more equitable, sustainable, and fair. Custom Collaborative reframes the old model by creating clothes that people want and paying the people who make them a fair wage. We're also excited that New York City government is investing in cooperative development and that so many people are taking up mending and upcycling as ways to extend and rejuvenate their wardrobes. Okay, so now we're on to sustainability. I'd love to hear what people uh, uh, have to share. Anthony, can you share share what people have talked about in the chat window?
Yes, of course. So, a lot of great responses about your question of what is sustainability, how do you define it? Um, Annalisa shared that it's stopping the purchasing of fast fashion, which is a really interesting topic because fast fashion is all around us. We know it's bad, but it is so affordable, and what that might look like. Also, someone had shared it's producing fashion from natural fabrics that at their end use, can return to the earth and biodegrade and nurture new plants that produce fabric fibers. Also, zero waste and thinking about our environment. Another comment shared better made clothes that last longer and makers are paid well for their skills. And lastly, sustainability means being able to come from fabric that has not been corrupted, meaning produced by unjust labor and is healthy for the environment.
That's great. This is really exciting. I'm glad to hear that people had so many ideas and so many different types of ideas. And so we just have on the screen what another sustainability expert who's actually here in New York shared, Dominique Drakeford, who is a custom collaborative advisor. So I think that the responses take us to a really good place that we can share some ideas on the next slide, right? And so this one is called The Economics of Sustainability. And I should also say that everybody at Custom Collaborative has ideas about sustainability and we work on projects together. And so Lydia Alvarez created this really great slide and some of the other ones, but I think it just shows a good way of how we can think about sustainability and environment and not just with fashion, but with so many other things. And so this is about the economics of sustainability, and that's talking about production and consumption and transfer of wealth. Um, Economics isn't just about money, but it's about um, weighing different choices and different alternatives. So you can have economics of time. I might do an economic study of how long it takes me to create an Instagram post. And is that worth my time if I know that, say, Mahati can create a much better Instagram post that takes half the time as me, right? And so we're talking about economics, economics of time, not just money, right? And so economics could be about resources. And so as we look at some of the economics of sustainability, the idea of a linear economy, which is you use things, you make things, you throw them away, a reuse economy where you reuse some things and then you throw some things away, and then a circular economy where we talk about, well, can we keep these things in the cycle forever? Does anybody have any thoughts about, and there's no right answers, of where we are now, let's say in this country, with linear, reuse, or circular? Any comments or thoughts? You can raise your hand. And whoever has an idea that is nervous about sharing your idea, don't be nervous, just say your idea.
I'm happy to start. And then I see a hand raised. Something that I'm seeing is more of a reuse economy approach with some of the brands that we all know in New York. For example, Mara Hoffman's program of after you use the garments that you love and you think they need a second life, you can send them back and it goes into their reuse program. And so I feel really positive that there's more brands that are doing this type of approach so that we feel, we love clothes. We want, maybe they're not for us forever, but then they can move on to another home. Yes, and I see a hand raised.
I don't know any designers as far as like reuse and stuff. I've never looked at it like in that perspective, but hopefully I can get to know them, and hopefully I'll be able to maybe, look at some stuff they do online. But because I used to work, I work in retail, but I've always like seen the designers and, like you said, the clothes, but like, I don't know, every designer is different, because the way they design their clothes is how they like are as a person. So if they're not like health conscious, and if they're not like thinking about the environment, then they're not going to make their clothes like that. So, but I always thought like how like to also, like you said, like make it good for the environment, make it good for the people at the same time. So I'm glad I'm getting to know more about this. It's interesting to me.
Thank
Yeah, and you shared so much great information so far, Ngozi. I think education really is the key of re-educating the consumer and changing the consumer's mindset, because once the consumer's mindset is changed, they will put the pressure on other designers and manufacturers to be more conscious about the clothing that we're consuming. When we get back to valuing fashion the way it should be valued, I think people will be willing to pay more and demand more, better construction, better garments, looking forward for them to lasting a long time. So really is the education, and like what you're doing right now is sharing so much information. I've learned a lot today, a lot about the history of the cotton and in China and the percentage. It's really, really, really informative. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. It looks like somebody sent me a message about the sustainability question. So before we go on, I'm just going to read this. It says, reuse the garment or donate the garment for needy, and reconstruct other garments according to your need. That way it's a benefit for the environment and reducing the waste to clean the environment. So thank you for that. It looks like there's some hands raised, Anthony. I don't know.
Yes, Annalisa, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is really a t-shirt I bought, and a dress, a poorly made dress. That was when I was still in the fast fashion buying. So I just combined it instead of sending it to the landfill. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And Jasmine, I see your hand is raised.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you very much.
Can I see her dress again? I'm sorry, I didn't get to see it. Oh,
Okay, let's see if I can.
that's a nice. Ooh, that's a nice dress. Yeah, I like that dress. I like that dress.
Thank you.
Can I get
Yes, I was.
a copy?
It's not showing on the.
It's not showing on the screen. You'll have to.
It's just saying economics of sustainability.
Let me see. All right.
Yeah, I don't know how you get it.
I think it's Angelica. I think it might be the
I
slide.
just yeah, let me see. Here. There you go. I think everybody can see Annalisa now, as well as Ngozi.
And if everybody changes their own view, so like I think on the upper right, you might have it on speaker. If you change your view to gallery, you might be able to see Annalisa.
Right, or spotlight.
You say it will be on the side that says speaker?
Up in the top right-hand corner, it says
Okay.
view. If you click on that, you can change your view.
Okay.
That's if you have a laptop, not if you have an iPhone or Android.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hi
you,
everybody. Hi everyone. Hi Ngozi. Hi Misty.
Hello.
So in speaking of sustainability in fashion, so I pick up that dress. Instead of letting it go to waste, I pick it up. This is the front, and this is the back. It's a beautiful dress. And so my goal is to use it to do something with it, because it's a lot of fabric there, beautiful fabric. I want to synthesize that fashion. I want to do the front the same way, except that enlarge it. And then I want to do a new back, because for some people, the back might be too revealing. So I want to do a new back. And instead of an evening garment, I can make it like a beautiful afternoon something by cutting the length. And so that is my idea of sustainability. And also I was thinking it is a great way to save our planet, because it's oversaturated with unneeded materials that are being used. And in so doing, we're using people's strength and energy and intelligence in the wrong way as well. So to me, sustainability means to really begin to care for our planet by shifting our mindset of what fashion truly means. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's lovely. Thank you.
That was great. That was good.
Thank you.
For me, I just wanted to add something funny that I say that, for example, in Africa, we've been sustainable for a long time. We just didn't have the term sustainability, created. But for us in Africa, you have a cloth, and then when you are is already too small for you, you pass to your cousin, you pass to your brother, you pass to your sister. And after, if it's not used, use it to clean the floor. And then if it's not used, use to clean the, I mean, we have been doing this sustainability thing for a long time. We just didn't have the word for it, and then came fancy words. Oh, this is called sustainability. So it's something that I see not only in Africa, but a lot of friends that I have from Latin America, the same happens. So I just wanted to want to point this out. So it's something that we are really very conscious in Africa, without knowing that we are doing something good. We are doing something good.
So when you do pass garments down from the 16-year-old and on down, that is considered sustainability also? Only thing you're doing, you're just passing it down to the next child.
Yeah, so you're extending the life of the garment. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Can I say something? Hello?
Sure,
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay.
All you.
When we were in with Miss T and Miss Veronica, we learned about sustainability in our coordinate class, but it did not come to life to me until Miss V gave me an idea to even create pillars out of jeans.
Nice.
That
And
is nice.
yes, and I also made a bag, but I don't know where it is. But out of the legs of my jeans that I wasn't wearing, I made a bag, and I also made a pillow out of it. So that's also sustainability, not throwing away anything. And Misty also showed us how to convert the things that we had into new fashion. Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
So before we move on to someone else, I wanted to add this. My idea when I pick up that dress, I was thinking of from high schoolers who are in need, for their fashion dresses. And I said, if I can find dresses like this that I can pick up for almost nothing in comparison to what they would cost, my idea is to make a collection. Well, that's part of my charity. I want to feed myself, of course, but that's part of what I was thinking of sharing what I received from Custom Collab to redesign, like I spoke earlier about synthesizing. So for instance, a poem person, a poem high schooler would need a more conservative bag. That's what I was thinking. And by cutting the length as well, make it a nice little poem dress. And what I do with it as well, based on what Misty has been teaching us, was what a good couture is, I spend time analyzing the dress to see what can fly and what cannot fly with Misty's class. So I've been learning so many things by doing that project. And so I'm grateful for that little place where I can pick them up and then probably connect with some high school, with people in need, and then do something, even if I donate 3 or 5 clothes per year to prom girls, that will make me very happy. Yes. So that's what I wanted to share. I wanted to add to what I shared earlier.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is great. I'm so excited to hear all these ideas. I think earlier on we talked about, somebody mentioned buying quality things, and that's super important. I think 2 weeks ago, was it, that we had a program with, was it B&J Fabrics or someplace? And so it's so important to continue to use garment district businesses and to buy good things, good quality, rather than something that we might get over the internet and the button may seem like it's great, but it's going to break. And so then that cheapens and shortens the life of your work. This is really great. Were there any other hands? Did anybody else want to?
I ask a quick question. I know there's sustainability with fabrics and everything, but is there a such thing as sustainability when it comes to plants? Reason why I ask that, because you know how sometimes you can take a plant, cut a piece, let it grow a root, and you can share it, with so many people. So I'm just curious, is there such thing as that?
That's a really great question. Does anybody know? I mean, I feel like plants are our friends. I actually have, I broke a couple of pieces off of my new plant by mistake. And so I put them in water and a couple of them are started taking roots. So Beverly, I'm gonna have to give you one of these plants. But I do not know. Does anybody have any plant expertise?
I can add, we're part of another organization, and there's a gentleman, is a designer out of the Bronx, and he is starting a program where he's using plant-based products to make knit. So I guess his dream is to create jobs for people in the Bronx. He has a whole, investment opportunity for businesses and partners, but his vision is to make a new kind of cashmere. And so he's growing this. And it's similar to what we did. We worked with the Slow Factory. Remember there was a part of the Ngozi, there was a group of people who made product. I think it was Philip Lim, the designer. If you remember correctly, he made that dress and they grew the fabric or the materials of the dress in the lab. So there are people who are using plant-based products to build fabric. And that's a way to kind of give back and stop using as many raw materials. So I don't have an answer to plants exactly, but I know that this designer is doing it in the Bronx. And I know that Philip Lim, through the Slow Factory and the collaboration we had with Mar Hoffman, they did something with plants as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Margot. That's David Lee.
Yes.
Who's doing this. Yeah, yeah. So great, great, great. And I mean, so before we go further, I just want to say that there are other ways of sustainability. So for example, Marcella gave me a t-shirt in December and gave it to me in a paper bag and wrote on it, reuse this bag, be sustainable. So there are things that we do and that we can do that are sustainable. So there's not necessarily, as you can see, one label, and you'll see some more ideas on the next slide.
Well, Miss Ngozi, I just want to say, I'm going to share a plant with you. And the reason why, I was in a shop the other day, I saw the same plant for $225. And I said to myself, oh my God, this is what I have in my window. And I asked them what the name of it. They said that's what it was. And I know it's been hard for me to find it, but I'm gonna make sure I give you a piece to start it in some water. And just remember, it's some good value behind it. It's called the Hindu rope.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I don't know about everybody else, but when quarantine started, I definitely started growing more plants. When I looked around, I saw that, home, which is where I wasn't usually all day, really did not have enough plants. And so I'm excited. They help clean the air and I think just make people
Yes.
happier.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
for
agree.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and so then the next slide that we're looking at is about the product life cycle. And I think that somebody mentioned earlier that because, we don't necessarily have the education about sustainability all the time, designers will design their products and not think about sustainability. But really, sustainability, if you think about it, the best way is at the beginning to talk about sustainability and to incorporate. Angelique, can you share your sustainability with your special designs?
Sure. So for me, my sustainability, of course, starts at design and selecting the products. I had a background of working in furs, which is like the original sustainable garment, right? There's a lot of resistance and, just personal choice with furs. I chose to now create some garments using feathers. So, and the feathers that I use are coming from uh, animal base that we use for consumption for food. So chicken and turkey and ostrich, and I use those things to create beautiful garments. I attach them to natural fibers, including suede or silk. They're lined in silk. They're attached to suede. I try to use as much as possible natural buttons and hooks and from shells and nuts and wood and that kind of thing to create my handbags as well as some other accessories. So I'm thinking that on that manner, and things that can be passed down and have a long life. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I was hoping that you would talk about your furs. I mean, I don't know if people have seen them. Maybe we can put a link in the chat window, but those furs are really, feather furs. Those designs are really amazing. And they are luxurious. And again, they're things that are, not wasted. So it's amazing to be able to create something that's biodegradable, meaning it will fall apart with the land rather than something that's like plastic or polyester that's going to live on forever and pile up our landfills, some of which are even in New York, Staten Island, and some other places have landfills. And so on the next slide, we're just going to talk about the concept of cradle to cradle, which is similar to what Angelique is talking about with her process, that when you're designing it, you're thinking about the end of life. And you'll see here, they're talking about also the end of the first life. So even to go back to what Jasminia said, the first life might be a person, and then the second life might be another person. And eventually you get down to third and fourth and final lives, which could be, again, using the clothes to, be rags, or taking parts of them and using them as patches and quilting for other garments. So there's so many places where we can think about how to be more sustainable and extend the life of the garments and home goods that we create. This particular framework came from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And so then Ellen MacArthur Foundation is a group that works on fashion sustainability. And this one also is titled Cradle to Cradle, because it's goes back to a book that was written in 2002, suggesting that we need to remake and rethink the way that we make things. So excited to have so many resources and ideas for how we can do things differently. And so as we round this up, I just want to say that Cradle to Cradle thinks about, again, natural systems, where we don't think about things as being waste, some of which is like indigenous circularity, like which Jasminia talked about. Also to think about clean and renewable energy. I just found out this year, after I got a new stove last summer, that that gas stoves are bad because they let like toxins come into the air in your home. And so now people are supposed to be switching to electric, which I didn't know. So I'm going to, in line with sustainability, use this oven until it doesn't work anymore. But then I'm going to want to like switch to electric. So even though in my apartment building, right, they're using gas for heating and everything, if we can use less gas, it's safer for both me and for the rest of the planet. And sorry about my New York sirens in the background. And then the third part of sustainability, as the cradle to cradle people talk about it, is diversity. And so that means diversity being resilience. So then the natural systems, you're not using just one fiber over and over and over again and planting these same crops, which take all of the minerals out of the earth. Of course, we also think that diversity is inclusive business models. And so that can be cooperative ownership or other types of inclusion and diversity that are meaningful to people and get us the outcomes that we need. And so then let me go to our next slide, which is the future for custom collaborative. We look forward to more stakeholders, meaning more people who partner with us. And so of course that's program participants. It's also businesses that we partner with to provide work opportunities or even to produce for. An expanded facility. Right now we are in 2 locations across town from each other. We want to have 1 big location. And we want to use this as a model that others can use, right? So we've created something, we've piloted something, and we have seen the things that work and that don't work, and we're always refining and improving, and we want to be able to share this model for others. I think that people can learn from our successes and our shortcomings, how to create place-based, meaning local community economic development. I'm thinking about a model of enterprise that works for immigrants, works for re-entering citizens, the unhoused, and the 14% of people in this country who are low income. And on the next slide, I just want to again highlight that we're thinking about what we can do. And I also want to share what you can do. So consistent with what Ms. T said, we can question our favorite brands on social media. There's different campaigns. One is like a hashtag that's lowest wage challenge. So it's saying that CEOs shouldn't make 500 times what the average worker makes. Another one is just asking your favorite brands on social media, what do they do for sustainability? Are they burning their clothes, which is not sustainable. Sometimes these brands will burn their excess clothing, or again, they might buy cotton that we know is made from people who are not free. So if we ask them and then also buy from brands and work with businesses that pay fairly and produce sustainability, and then we can challenge them and others to improve. And of course, the idea of repairing, which is, I think I've heard a few people talk about repairing the clothes that we have. If we can't do it, taking it to the local businesses that can. Repurpose, so whether it's, you know, taking prom gowns that we find and making adjustments and donating them to people who need them, and pausing, so meaning every time we see something in the store that's a good price or slightly cute, thinking about, do we really need to buy this? So I appreciate you listening, and I'm happy to hear questions and comments, and again, ideas that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ngozi. That was fabulous. It's always so interesting to hear your perspectives and all of the great knowledge that you have and that you share with us as a group. And so I would love to ask the audience if you have any questions for Ngozi. If you do, if you can raise your hand and we can go through the Q&A.
So I have one quick question in regards to the gas stove that we've been using that is not good for environment. So I would like to know, did they add any information to the fact that they could switch to electricity and how sustainable that will be in terms of using an electric So in terms of the environment for the air, I understand that part, but of economy, such as the money part, knowing that electricity bill can become so high, so I would say how they're going to accommodate that. I'm not sure I'm clear, because am I clear enough?
So when you were talking, it broke up a little bit. So if you can write it in the chat, and then we'll answer it, and then whoever has the next question while Miriam is writing.
Ngozi, I have a quick question. Back on that project with Mar Hoffman, we had the apprentices there. We were trying to make those outfits, and I believe that Mar Hoffman's team wanted to use Muslim to do the pre-outfit, and you said we don't Muslim at Custom Collaborative. And I remember I didn't quite understand. I got it, you know, basically, but I'd love for you to explain why at Custom Collaborative we don't use Muslim fabric, what Muslim fabric is, and how popular. I know there's popular use to make pre-outfits, but just if you could explain that, that would be great.
For sure, and I might turn to the more experts, Angelique and Anthony, but basically muslin is a cotton. It can be bleached or unbleached, but it's just a regular fabric that, you know, the rows, the threads go down one way and across the other. So designers will generally use muslin when they're creating a sample or creating a pattern, right? Some people for maybe like a second sample will use like something closer to the actual fabric, but muslin is just the kind of the traditional cotton. So the reason that I said that we don't generally use muslin, especially not in the classroom, is because there's so much fabric that can be used as muslin that we already have. So then rather than buying, you know, fabric for $5 and $6 a yard, plain cotton, there are other things that we can use to make our samples with. So we're just really extending the life, because a lot of the fabric that we get is donated, it's like overstock or the slightly wrong color for the designers. And so instead of throwing away, we're finding ways to use it. Anthony, Angelique, do you have things to add?
Yeah, happy to speak to that. That makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like in our industry, there's no end of surplus material. So whatever is on hand is always preferable to use instead of creating more textile waste. But I would ask Angelique also for her thoughts.
Yeah, and I think back to watching old movies from the 20s and 30s. Nobody was using new muslin to create fashion. They went to their bed sheets and curtains and different things to use, similar to what Jasmina was talking about. I think of Gone with the Wind, and she needed a new gown, and they get pull down those curtains, and she made that famous, green gown. I think it was green velvet gown that she wore to the affair. So, and originally designers did drape in fabric. You know, it wasn't muslin per se, but yeah, we can definitely reuse fabrics to create the designs for the next upcoming fabrics.
Yes, thank you both. And that reminds me that for one group, I think it might have been cohort 4 at Custom Collaboratives Training Institute. They did actually use sheets. There was like a bedding company that closed, and they gave us all these like huge, huge sheets. And so we used them. We had sheet muslin, but yeah, that's exactly right. We like use what we have. So I see a really good question from Amine about sustainability and how designers approach the sustainability of what's in fashion. And so let me ask Angelique, as a designer yourself, what's your process of thinking about what's in fashion and what will be long lasting?
So there's always that thing about creating the classics, right? So that it can have long life. And to address what's in fashion or in trend, sometimes you just need a little touch. It might be a part of the garment that's removable, or you just find a unique way. But if you keep your silhouettes and designs classic and add just a touch of something to make it in fashion, then I think we'll create more sustainable garments. Yeah. And when it's classic, there's not that need to keep changing your wardrobe that dates it by the, whatever the trend is.
Yeah, that's extremely helpful. I would also say the question also talks about what's in fashion and it being, these collections being created 6 and 12 months ahead of time. And one thing that's happening now, it was happening some, and I think that the pandemic increased it, is that now many designers are bringing their actual creation and production closer to the calendar time when the clothing would be released, right? Because we used to see, the swimwear come out in January, and not just like the cruise swimwear, but the real swimwear. And like, we don't know in January what we're going to look like or what we're going to like. And so we've got more technology now that things can be created more to order. They even have platforms where people can order things and then they'll get it in a couple of weeks. That is really helpful. And then like Angelique said about creating things that will stand the test of time. I just read an article about something that, you know, we didn't think would necessarily stand the test of time at the time, but Benetton, which was like the really colorful in the 80s and I guess early 90s. And now they've aligned with this platform, I think Depop, to start selling this vintage Benetton and make some changes to it. So if things are created well, then they will last. And you know, whether they're in or out of fashion, there's always going to be people who want a particular thing, right? So it's important to make sure that what we're producing, that somebody wants to buy it.
And I think there's a trend too to do more custom. So when you make something that's specifically designed, which is how you started off with this whole concept, Ngozi, of getting things made to order that fit your body, fit your style, and more individualism instead of mass producing, that is definitely sustainable and going to help us along the way.
For sure, for sure. I actually had a jumpsuit made, and a few people at work have asked me about that jumpsuit. And so I'm trying to press Naya to make this jumpsuit because I think a couple of Margot and some others want it. So it's really important too to recognize what do people want and then say like, okay, you can't have it tomorrow, but you can have it in 3 weeks and it's going to fit you. And so it could be like custom or made to measure, but it's something that will stand the test of time. Are there any more questions?
I have a comment that says manufacturing clothing for less and fast fashion disrupted the upscale fashion business. American manufacturing was destroyed by the need for mass manufacturing to clothe people at the lowest price, and cheap and cheerful fashion emerged.
Yeah, that's a great comment. That's a great comment, especially the idea of like cheap and cheerful fashion, because it definitely is inexpensive and it looks cheerful. But then when you figure in everything else, like how it's polluting the waterways and people are underpaid for it, then it's not as much fun and happy. But I'm glad that, you know, we can share that perspective because it tells us that things weren't always this way, right? And so then we can create a different type of fashion industry.
Ngozi, I have a question for you. I feel like this group here is sort of like an insider group that understands a bit more about the industry than, let's say, some people in our family or some people that are not in fashion. Have you had any interesting stories of people that have learned things through Custom Collaborative and the work that we're all doing? Has it shed light on things that people weren't necessarily aware of but are now wanting to be aware of?
I think so. Let me see. Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, both through our program, so whether that's training or even with our business incubator, where we're working with external designers and people who want to become designers, as well as when we do presentations and speaking engagements. Yeah, we're definitely engaging and educating a lot of people. One of the companies that we're recently working with is HIG, which is had been a sustainability index for fashion companies, and now is becoming more like sustainability software. And they weren't necessarily aware of the human side of the equation, like making sure that Black and Brown communities were included in sustainability. So we're starting to work with them to expand the model and to bring other companies in, because we need all of the ideas, right? When we're talking about sustainability, we definitely need all the ideas. I mean, so not only has Custom Collaborative shared ideas, but we've also then learned ideas from the women who are in our program. So it's really been an amazing opportunity to work with such a community of smart people with different ideas that they just need to be able to share.
Thank you for that. Also, we have a comment that says, sign me up. I'd love to know when the program will be starting for this year. And I believe it's something that we're working to schedule, but everyone should stay tuned.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. There's an application on our website for the training program, but you'll see that we won't be having any new classes before August. It'll probably be September or later. And we're just trying to align with best health and safety practices.
Thank you. Any questions from the group?
No, but I just thought of something, I don't know, my grandmother's channeling me or something. She always remind me before you throw out your comments, don't forget to save the buttons. Okay, so save the buttons, don't throw it out with the buttons. And if you can, take the time out and pick out the zipper as well. This is another thing. They come in handy.
Absolutely, that's so true. When my grandmother passed, I had this like big tin of buttons, and I was just like, what am I supposed to do with these? But you'll find ways. I mean, there have been designers who focused on just like having, different buttons to decorate the clothing. And so one great thing is like, if you have a solid black top, you can put different buttons and different trim that you could actually, switch out later. So lots of good ideas. Definitely, you're right. Save buttons and zippers. Well, I'm so excited to have talked with you all. I appreciate the invitation. If there are no more questions, I guess we can wrap up early for Summer Friday.
Yes, Summer Stormy Friday. There's a storm brewing. But we're so grateful for your time, Ngozi, and really informative and helpful workshop for all of us. And I just wanted to remind the group that there will be a workshop Wednesday next week, which will be a live fitting session. So please tune in for that. It'll be really a nice session. And then there will be more workshops throughout June. So hopefully you can join us digitally or in person.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This was great and super informative.
Yes. Thanks, everybody.
Yes, thank you too. Thank you for coming. It's always nice to see you. Thank you.
Thanks, Miss Ngozi. You look
Very
beautiful.
good presentation, Miss Ngozi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Right.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Bye, ladies.
It was great. Thank you.
Thank you.